Hello, everyone. Welcome to the MCC. I'm your host, Isaac Mack. Joining me today is none other than Dr. Andrew Kako. It's been a while. It's so good to have him back. Like we spoke, I think September last year, so it's been 6 months since our very first chat. So, Dr. Andrew, welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's good to be back.
So what's been going on, man? It's been a while between chats.
Absolutely. I guess a lot has been going on. It's 2021. Marriage, change jobs, change place to where I live. So quite a bit, yeah. And I can see that your podcast done a bit too.
Thank you, brother. Well, it's because of good people like you have come on. So it's awesome. It's awesome to have you back. It's exciting for me too because it's the first time we've had, we've had a lot of great guests on, some religious leaders, some great people in the community like yourself. So it's nice to have you back. I think last time we spoke, because of COVID and everything that was going on, you had a date for January set for the wedding, which was January 20.
Third, yeah.
Did that
Yeah.
happen?
Actually, it did happen. It did happen. We could only have 100, but it still happened. Thank you. There you
How was it all? Is it?
Yeah, it was leading up to it was quite stressful because the restrictions were changing daily.
Yeah.
We had to like uninvite people,
Oh,
um,
wow.
and it was like just very chaotic leading up to it. But the wedding itself was amazing. Like we managed to get 100 people in there, and it went really, yeah.
That's right. There was that in New South Wales. 'Cause I'm not far from Sydney. There was that Christmas lockdown thing in the northern beaches. Oh, so
Exactly,
that was all going on. You guys were. How?
exactly. And before that, there was like that 2 square meter rule, which would have been fantastic. But so yeah, there was a bit of a scare at the end, but the show had to go on.
Awesome, awesome. So, what are you now? 2 months, 2 months, almost 2 months of marriage.
Almost.
How's it been so far?
It was really, really good. I mean, the honeymoon was really good. Now back to reality, which is also good. But yeah, so far can't complain.
Yeah. And so you're out of Fairfield, yeah? Is it
Yeah,
you?
so I changed jobs. I actually work in Fairfield at the moment.
Oh,
So it's been a bit of a change. I've had to practice my sort of had to brush up on it quite a bit. So it's been good.
'cause you don't speak English in Fairfield.
No, barely, barely. You mostly speak Surat, Arabic, and Chinese, Vietnamese. Yeah,
Oh, so you speak Vietnamese as well.
a few words, but don't test me on it.
I know some, but actually I can't say those words either.
No.
Yeah, that's some naughty friends. Um, Tell me, like, what's it been like being a doctor out there, like throughout this whole everything going on?
Yeah, really good, really good. I've been. It's amazing how people who struggle a little bit with English, how appreciative they are of any doctors that can speak their language. Especially this time of certainty, this time where you sometimes you can't see a doctor because of certain symptoms and people don't know why. So it's been really good and connecting to our community, especially with people that have newly arrived to Australia and things like that. So
Uh,
it's been a big eye opener, and it's been big, amazing opportunity to connect further with our community. Yeah.
yeah, awesome. And because last time we spoke, you had some frustrations because you weren't able to necessarily see people because you had that whole, dialing in and everything. But
Yeah.
that's eased up a lot now. Yeah, you're seeing people face to face.
It has mostly, yeah. So I'd say 80% of people would be face to face. We do still get the phone consults,
Yeah.
uh, but the vast majority is face to face. So it's good. It's really good. You can actually, and even the people that are phone calls, uh, you do the consult through the phone. You can get them to come in as well. So
That's
yeah,
that must be a bit of a relief for you, yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. It's finally working. It's the medicine that we were always taught.
Yeah, exactly. How about people's mental state? Is that Has that improved a lot because of?
Yeah, yeah. Look, I mean, seeing, I guess we're seeing the aftermath of people that have lost their jobs, people that have been mainly inside, and like, I mean, there are lingering effect. I'll have many people that were made redundant.
Yeah.
and still not finding their jobs, and it's still the mental health thing is lingering on.
It is.
Uh, but the vast majority of people seem to have picked up, and they seem to be in a much better headspace. The other thing that I see is that a lot of people put on weight during COVID-19. So, yeah, well, including myself. So this is something we need to work on.
You weren't talking about me, were you?
No, no, I'm talking about myself.
Oh, okay.
No, that's
Yeah, I mean that's ain't that the truth. One of the topics, obviously, I was interested to talk to you about is the vaccine,
yeah.
the dread V word. I've watched how, I mean, I don't know if all countries. There's a few countries out there, particularly in Europe, they are just going nuts with it. As in, a lot of certain places are making it mandatory. Workplaces, I've got family members even in the States who, work in public health or even in medicine. Some of them have had to. It has been mandatory for them to take it, whereas Australia's been a little bit more relaxed about it.
Yeah.
The government are recommending it, but they're not really hammering it hard and enforcing it. How do you feel about all that? What's been happening with the whole vaccine?
So I think the vaccines are so far from what we've seen very safe. They're very
Yeah.
safe. Um, the amount of like the media coverage of people having side effects, they're extremely small, and you'd expect that with any vaccine that you get.
Mm.
So generally, it seems like they they're very safe to use, and they're not having a lot of complications at all. The other thing is that the government's very, very careful with the way they administer. So they've put in a lot of conditions where you can't take it if you have certain, like say, had another immunization within 2 weeks and things like that.
Okay.
So they're putting all these guidelines in place that actually work out really well. So in that it seems really good. In terms of mandatory versus non-mandatory, I think everyone wants everything to be non-mandatory.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's the ideal thing. The question then becomes, if we don't make it mandatory, are we putting the public at risk? So, from a philosophical position and excluding the vaccine, I'm not talking about the vaccine. I would
Yeah.
always stand for the person to have a right to choose what they want to do.
Yeah.
Um, it becomes a little bit more challenging in a pandemic.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's interesting what you said though about how the government is actually being careful if people have had. Is it just different vaccines or is it certain medical?
Yeah.
What?
What happens is that they all get screened, and they have a certain conditions where they can't have a vaccine.
Yeah.
Uh, like for example, pregnant ladies, they're being extra careful with them, which I think is an absolute right approach to do,
Good.
because we just don't have enough information and research about how that will affect them.
Mm.
Um, it's we've never had a vaccine in the pandemic before, so
Yeah.
it's all new to everyone. I mean, ideally, we would like to have some more years to test the vaccine, but in the light of pandemic and so many people dying, you gotta do something. You can't just sit around and wait for some results. But in all of that, it seems like very good. But in the question is, should it be mandatory? Is well, it's it's a tough question. I mean, ideally no. Ideally no.
But also in Australia, I think we're in a position where, I don't think I don't know, I don't think it has to be mandatory in that sense because Australia's been so. I mean, you look at. I've got friends in Europe right now who still can't get out of their houses because of all the lockdowns and all that stuff. And especially, I've been really happy with, from a political point of view, even the New South Wales Premier, how New South Wales never been got involved in the border closures and any of that stuff,
Yeah,
and we've been as a state pretty good.
we've done fantastic, but that's what we've done up to now. No
Mm.
one's to say what can happen tomorrow or the day after.
Yeah.
Just massive clusters happening everywhere. But hopefully this is the tail end of it, and it all works out really well.
Mm.
Um, and if it continues this way, I can't see the government making it mandatory, which is a big positive for everyone. I guess the other issue is the fetal products in the vaccines as well, and I think it would ideally you would want every manufacturer of vaccines and medication to spell out exactly what they have so people can make their own choices. I think that's really important. And in terms of that, I think the church has an important role in advocating for that as well. But it just seems like things are being overlooked, unfortunately, because it is a pandemic and everyone's quite terrified.
Well, I remember when I was on a call where the Archbishop, Emil Nona, he was asked about that. How would you approach it if the vaccine, this is well before, if the vaccine had, because there are vaccines from what I've read and researched about that have, aborted fetal cells in them.
Yeah.
And he was asked, well, what would you recommend to people if the vaccine has that? And he said, well, his answer is pretty like blunt, as in, well, of course, as Christians, we wouldn't participate in that. So there is that aspect to it as well, which is
absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, the thing is, vaccines can be made without fetal tissue. So I think it's probably important to keep in mind and maybe even advocate for it, because I mean you wouldn't force a vegetarian to eat meat. People should be aware of what they're receiving.
Absolutely.
And ideally, I wish all the manufacturers spell out exactly what they've got in their vaccines. And ideally, there would be much more than one vaccine to choose from. And ideally, you could choose the vaccine that is consistent with your morals or your philosophical standpoint and things like that. Yeah, this pandemic has raised a lot of questions, and they're all quite valid, and they're quite, as a community, I think we should definitely think a lot about it. And I think our Archbishop is excellent in doing that. I think he as a leader, he educates our community really well, and I think we should have more community discussions together. Yeah.
Absolutely. No. So on a lighter topic, what's been happening with you? I know you've got 2 books now.
2 books, yeah.
And but you're looking at publishing another one this year, yeah?
It's called The 10 Reservations.
Yeah.
And this is my first book in regards to Christianity.
I thought so.
Yeah. So basically, what it is that I once was asked if you were born anywhere else in the world, and they didn't know I was born in Baghdad. So they go, if you're born anywhere else in the world, like say Middle East, would you still be a Christian? And then I go, well, I was born in Middle East. So they changed their question. They asked, if you're born into a different family, say a Muslim family, would you still be a Christian? So then I decided, you know what, maybe I should address this question. Maybe I should really address. So I went online and I looked for the 100 hardest questions when it came to Christianity.
Wow.
And I've categorized them into 10 different questions. And so this book is going through each one of those questions and addressing them one by one to realize whether any of those questions will deter me from Christianity. So it's a way of reflecting whether I would still have been a Christian even if I wasn't born into a Christian family. So that's what the book is about. So it was meant to be published before Lent. And because of my busy timeline, I haven't finished it yet. So, and I didn't want to rush a product. So it's been pushed back. I don't know when, but it is in its final stages.
In July, roughly, is that?
Hopefully July, yeah. July.
Yeah.
We have it out by July.
Well, let us know. We'll definitely post it as soon as that's ready. That sounds like a really interesting read, because even the title itself, when you told me the 10 reservations, I went, that got me thinking.
Yeah, because back in the 90s when I was growing up, you were Christian by convenience. So you were Catholic by convenience. So if you said you were Christian, that was the default.
Yeah.
Think about it. You didn't think what it meant. You didn't think that you're a follower of Christ, that you took the Eucharist. None of that mattered. It just, you're Christian because everyone else is the Christian.
Yeah.
Now that in the Western society, where the Christianity has been pushed back a bit into the corner, you're not saying you're a Christian out of convenience anymore, because it's actually not that beneficial to call yourself a Christian, because then you're often forced to defend yourself and what you teach, and it makes you reflect. So now we're not in the age of convenience in terms of being a Christian. Now you can't be a Christian of convenience. You got to be a Christian by conviction, and that's what this book is all about, to see if you're actually a Christian by conviction and not out of convenience.
I love it. I can't wait to read it. That's awesome.
Hopefully July.
What inspired you to write that? Is it the fact that was it that question that someone put to you that got you thinking? Is it?
Absolutely. And the other reason is I used to volunteer quite a bit for the church previously, but I've just found it so difficult to build a routine where I can commit to a specific time every week to go to build up a church group. So I thought, what other ways can I contribute to the church without actually being there present? Because I find if our community doesn't contribute to the church, then who will? Like, too many people from our community, they say, but the bishop will do that, and the priest will do that, and why aren't the deacons doing that?
Yeah.
Little do they know that each and every one is equally responsible for the well-being of our church and our community.
Amen.
And yes, not everyone has all the time in the world, and not everyone has every talent in the world, but I think we should definitely use our talents, whatever they may be, towards the church, because at the end of the day, the church points us to our purpose.
Absolutely. And I mean, I've talked to people from a political point of view on this show, and when it's the same thing when people complain either about what the church is doing or not doing, what the politicians are doing or not doing, or whatever stands are out there and things they're not happy about in society. I mean, it's one thing to complain about them, but people forget how powerful one individual is.
Absolutely.
And what you can do in the community. If you really want to, you can run for office. If you want to bring more Christian values and that into the community, or you can actually start things, create groups, whatever you want to do, online, in person. There's so much you can do, and even for the church itself. I mean, I've said this openly many times. That's part of the reason why I put this show together itself. This podcast was for initially it was for the 18-year-old versions of me. Getting out of school and just going, I need to listen to people who I want to be like. So I have people like yourself on the show, other people who I respect, and from all different walks of life, and our religious leaders, so people can actually connect with those people rather than just going, okay, well, who do I listen to? Because there's so much crap out there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I keep referencing back to our Chaldean community, because there's so much to learn from there. Like, we have amazing leaders in our bishop. We have amazing priests.
Yeah.
Our community sometimes haven't realized how talented they are as well.
Correct.
And I can see that the bishop and the priest, they're constantly trying to encourage them to pursue all their talents. But sometimes I think our community is yet to realize how amazing they are. And the other thing is exactly what you said about people saying this person did that and this political party did that. But I think that's the beauty about church, is that it doesn't matter who does what, or because if we put our faith on a particular deacon or a particular priest, and they end up doing something that we don't like or disappoint us, then that shouldn't detract us from the church, because we never should be attending church because of them. We attend church because of Christ. And unless Christ disappoints us, then we should have no reason to be disappointed in the first place. Yeah. So I think all of this is something our community should realize, because we do have an amazing community, and there's so many people not part of our community that wish they were part of our community, because we do have an amazing connection, but I think we're yet to realize our true potential.
Well, one thing, I mean, I didn't know that we were going to talk about this, for example, but one thing I know for a fact, and our Archbishop would never say this openly or even in church, because he's not that type of person.
Yeah.
I know for a fact from because he's related to me, and speaking to my parents about it recently, because they went and visited him. I know he is working his butt off right now to raise funds for the church. Because they've got big plans, they want to build more churches, and people think that the church gets money from the government. You don't. I know, for example, Father Maher, he used a bit of I suppose entrepreneurship. He went out and bought a little caravan. They started selling kebabs, everything at the churches, and raising it, because he just wanted to help the Archbishop raise that way. I mean, that's the kind of spirit and entrepreneurship that we need a bit more of that within the community itself, and the reason why he did that is obviously he's closely connected to the Archbishop, but anybody can go up to him in a church and just say, hey, how can we help? What does the church need? What could I do to do my part? Rather than just sitting in the grandstands and just watching the show. Get in there and be part of it.
Absolutely, completely agree.
Yeah, that's a topic I could really get into.
We'd be here all night.
That's what I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
As a doctor, we're going back to you being a doctor. We take our politics hats off and church hats off.
Yeah.
We go back to being a doctor. What could you say from everything that you've seen from, early last year, COVID hits Australia, the world, all that. What would you recommend to people, just from a health perspective, that they could do better for themselves?
Number one advice that I give everyone is get off social media. Get off social media, because
Why is that?
The reason why is I see so many people with anxiety coming in the waiting room. They'll be smiling, happy, talking. They come into my office and they confess how anxious they are, and that they feel like the whole world's falling apart. And then in the next second, they're scrolling through their social media, and it's almost like they're obsessed with the next thing that's on social media. So the reason why I say social media is one of the reasons why people get so anxious is the constant update and the constant information overload. But in the 90s, we were able to go home, relax. There was no one chasing us home. There was maybe that big home phone someone would call once a day, but that was about it. You could actually just turn off your mind, relax, enjoy, spend time with family. Now you can't. Every 2 seconds, your phone starts ringing, or there's a notification bell or something that goes off, and they're taking in their phone out. Even my consults are constantly getting interrupted. Like, they don't even have time to talk to the doctor without pulling their phone out, checking social media. So it's this idea that the phone almost owns them and they do not own the phone. So, and you can see the anxiety has tripled or even more during the COVID time, and it's continuing to do so. So even when they're there with me in the medical consult, they're not actually there. So I can just imagine how much attention they give to their children.
Yeah.
So I can just imagine, like, if you're not listening to a doctor's advice, are you going to listen to are you listening to anyone, like, in your family?
Yeah.
And the other thing is, there's this constant information coming left, right, and center, and it's just driving people insane. One day they hear this thing, and one day they hear that opposite thing, and they don't even know what to believe anymore. The news is another thing. Constant watching news. Like, the news can never tell you that, oh, it's been a nice day, there hasn't been much going on. No, it has to be like, it has to either be some killing.
Nothing to see here, guys, today. We'll come back tomorrow. We might have a story for you.
Exactly. Or something really grim or something to make you really happy is always the most extreme of emotion. And that's the only way they're going to get you back every day. So
Yeah.
try to like kind of like reduce the amount and limit it to somehow to only the necessary information. If we could just have a filter,
Yeah.
go a long way because all these devices, we don't own them anymore. They own us. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you saw the episode I had my father on, with
Yeah.
MCC a few months back. But I remember asking Dad, because he was, he's someone that I admire, and we spoke about the whole physicality and the tiredness, mental and physical. I said to him, why do you think, like, your generation, it's a dying breed where people just didn't get tired. That, even in our culture, especially those men, uh, I won't talk about the men of today, but those men who I really look up to and admire, he would say it's embarrassing and it's shameful to say that you're tired. That was the mindset. But I said to him, why do you think people are so tired now? And I said, is it a weak generation? I thought he'd really start going off on that, but he didn't. He said something really interesting. He said that because they're too distracted. I was like, fair call.
Yeah.
And
No,
he said, look at all the things. He said, we didn't have all these things. We just focused on what we were doing.
absolutely.
And that's such a great example of understanding how much more energy you would have in a day, and more at peace you'd be if you, exactly what you're saying, get off the devices, get off social media. It's getting, it worries me because I think more and more people are getting, it's like a gambling addiction. It's like someone's been in a casino and they don't realize how bad
Yeah.
they're screwed over.
Absolutely, absolutely, and they're exhausted for days and days.
Mm.
I used to work in produce, in different fruit markets.
Yep.
I would carry several tons of fruit and stack them in my high school years, and I would finish a 12-hour shift and still want to go out after it. I finish a 10 to 12 hour shift at work now and I'm mentally exhausted. I've got to go down, relax, or watch a movie with my wife. But there's no way I can just switch off. It takes time to switch off. But um it's just a constant information overload. And that's something that I've in my field that I've worked in. Now imagine topping that with social media, which I've almost quit altogether.
Yeah.
Uh, and Yeah, it's just too many distractions and you can't afford it. In saying social media though, I think there are some that are really good. I think YouTube's quite good. I think YouTube, depending on what you use it for, it could be very educational.
Well,
I
for
think,
example, just sorry, on YouTube, I have channels that I subscribe to. They're my favorite ones, and then when I open up my YouTube, there's new episodes of that. So everyone subscribe to this.
yeah, exactly. So something like this is really good.
Yeah.
But YouTube can educational, like things if you want to learn something
Yeah.
new. YouTube's really good.
I've
Um,
got ones on health, mixed martial arts, which I love. All the things that actually I'm passionate about, I subscribe to, and it's refreshing when I watch those channels.
I used to think like subscription services were an absolute ripoff, but then I kept seeing people, what they do is that they go home, they put on whatever is on, and it could be the most boring thing ever, zero benefit, it just so they don't think. But
Yeah.
if you have certain subscriptions that are actually teaching you a new skill or teaching you a new, something new that can grow you as a person, then I think all for it. Like, I mean, why not rather than wasting time? And it's in saying that it just depends on how you use social media as well. Like I mean, certain like a Twitter where you only follow people that advance in your field, advance you, but the vast majority of people don't use it for that, and the vast majority of people use it just yeah.
Correct. All right. So we've got to wrap up soon. So your recommendations: get off social media.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Get outside,
Good.
get outside, and spend more
Away
time
from everything.
and community. It is I've worked in places where they had no sense of community and they had no sense of family, and it's the closest thing to hell that I have seen. So no church, no community, no family, and it's a really sad place.
It's interesting when I asked you that question, all your answers were related to mental. mental and the spiritual side of it. None of it was actually related to what we eat and all that, which I commend you for, because as a doctor, a lot of doctors will go the other way, and I mean, it's very important what we put in our mouth and we put in our bodies. But you're 100% right. It's concerning because I've never been on this planet for this long. I've never seen a society where there's so many anxious people out there. There's so many people who've got depression. There's so many people who've got mental health issues. Mental health is a big thing. Sadly, a lot of prescriptions have been given for mental health. I understand that it has to be given to a certain degree, but the basics of exercise, getting out in the sun, getting in the community, and getting off these freaking devices is not being reminded to people. So God bless you for
God bless you too. Yeah.
bringing that up.
Because if your mind is straight, you would eat the right thing, and your body will you will make sure that you stay physically healthy as well. So it's and a lot of people talk about meditation and everything, but I think honestly the best form of meditation with me is prayer.
Yeah, amen.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think it's prayer keeps being looked down upon, but prayer is the greatest form of meditation that I have ever tried.
Without question.
But yeah, I went. Yeah,
Awesome, brother. Well, we'll leave it there. It's an absolute pleasure to talk to you again, man.
absolutely.
Maybe next I'll be a typical Iraqi. Maybe next time I see you, you'll have children.
maybe. Who knows? I'll bring them on the show if I do.
I don't know. Yeah, that'd be interesting. I'll bring mine. You bring yours, and
That's it.
I don't think we'll get a word in.
That's it. No, that's all right. No, it's been a pleasure talking to you as well.
Yeah, awesome, bro. Well, thanks again, and all the best for the rest of 2021. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.